here. He's got his own billiard room.
Yes, it's what do you call it, Kramer? The billiard room? No. The name. The billiard? Not the billiards. It was. Come on, Rudy. Come on. We call it the
place to be.
The place to be. Yes, it's the place to be.
Then I shall be there.
Now, it's time. Live and in living color. The Grandy Man can.
Time to play the game.
Well, you always left me satisfied and smiling, so.
That's what she said.
Why do I want this?
Yeah.
Because I want to make bank, bro. I want to get ass. I want to drive a Range Rover.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it is now time for the Place to Be Podcast. And now your hosts, Justin Rosero and Scott Criscolo.
Place to be a nation. Welcome to another great episode of the Place to Be Podcast. I am your co-host, Justin Rosero, and with me, as always, the man whose favorite quarterback chokes more often than Matt Rotella does on his words, Scott Criscolo.
You know what? I think that the other part of it was so much better. I won't even acknowledge that. Although there was a great. I
mean, I actually like your quarterback, so I feel bad.
Yes, I know. I know. Hey, what are you going to do? There was a great picture that somebody sent me today. It would have been Jason Greenhouse would have been proud if he had come up with it, but it's a picture of the what's the Mexican beer? The guy stay thirsty, my friends. Whatever
Dos Equis?
Oh, Dos Equis. And except it's got Romo on the front. He goes, I usually don't throw pick sixes or fumble, but when I do, it's in the last 2 minutes of games. It's actually a very funny picture.
Don't do any tricks.
Yeah, well, he should try not to do any more tricks, and maybe we'll win games. But good evening, sir. Pleasure as always. Welcome everyone to the big 7-0.
Oof, halfway to you.
Number 70. Wow, I look good, don't I?
Not bad for 140.
For someone who booked Stanislaus Obisco at Comiskey Park, me and Toots. It is number 70 of the Place to Be Podcast, and as always, it is our cornucopia headline show. We have a myriad of things to cover. A lot of stuff tonight. We'll of course recap this past Sunday's Hell in the Cell pay-per-view, which occurred in New Orleans, and I got a bone to pick with the French Quarter about this week's show, about the pay-per-view. We'll run down Raw and SmackDown, the Raw show, and of course the SmackDown spoilers. We will also talk about the first episode of Season 2 of Lucha Libre USA, Masked Warriors. I laughed my ass off. I thought it was a great episode. Actually, there was a debut. I don't know if this guy was. We'll talk about it, but there was a guy that actually made a kind of a debut in the main event of that show. You could tell by his finisher, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. It was actually pretty cool. Then, of course, we will cover news and notes brought to you by our good friends at WrestleChat.net. A lot of stuff going on. Some interesting tidbits on returns, and of course, more news on the network and etc. It is, of course, Asshole of the Week. We will hear our wonderful Place to Be Nation and their nominees for this week's Asshole of the Week. We will give you an update on the postseason in Major League Baseball. My PIC's got some nail chewing to do tomorrow night in the Bronx, but he's still alive. Almost didn't think so last night, but cooler heads prevailed. And of course, your Week 5 picks in the NFL. So we got a full.
Your cunt is in the sink.
Yeah, well, he was a little disappointed on Monday night, and we'll explain why. But why don't we dive right in? Let us begin. Hell in the Cell, which occurred this past Sunday night from the New Orleans Arena in New Orleans, Louisiana. And I was expecting, at least from an energy level, because New Orleans is a very hyped up city. It's a big party city. They love their Saints.
When was the last show they had there?
Well, the one that always comes to mind for me is the 2001 Rumble, but there had to have been one since. Wasn't there one where they had to move the venue? It was like in 2008. It was originally supposed to be at some arena, but then the Hornets had to play there for something because the Superdome. Was it 05 because of Katrina? Tulane usually plays at this. No, I don't know what happened. They've been there at least once since the 2001 Rumble. I don't remember when though.
Okay,
it's in the last 3 years.
I didn't see the pay-per-view. I caught bits and pieces of it online, so I'll let you kind of navigate through it, and I'll throw my thoughts in there.
All right. I was very disappointed in this crowd. They really didn't, except for Randy Orton's entrance, they really didn't peak until the main event. And I was very disappointed in that. That's a big party city, very energetic crowd, and they sat on their hands. I felt like I was in California. Very, very disappointing. The show overall, it's tough to, and every time we talk about current pay-per-views, I'm always reminded of what our good friend John Walter said when we had him on way back. And that is, it's kind of hard to judge a show while you're watching it. No one brings a pad and a paper or a pad and a pencil to a show and grade matches while you're watching it. That's crazy. So I can never say, it takes a lot for a show to be ridiculously great or ridiculously terrible minutes after watching it. And I think in this case, it's the same thing. The show probably needs to be watched again. I didn't have a problem with any of the matches. Well, maybe the Divas match was kind of dull. But the rest of the show didn't bother me in terms of quality of match. I thought Sheamus and Christian, which was the opener, was pretty good. And I was expecting some energy from the crowd. Didn't get it.
Yeah, especially with Sheamus has been very over lately. I'm kind of surprised he didn't get more reaction there.
I know, crazy over. He wins. He reverses the kill switch into the brogue kick and wins the match, which I got wrong because I thought this feud would continue. But you were kind of right. I think Christian's just going to kind of float around as a little bitcher and moaner over the next
I had no doubt that. And then, as we'll see in a news piece later, Sheamus obviously is destined for bigger things. And, we didn't know that at the time, but it definitely seemed like they were pushing him strongly.
Yeah, exactly. So Sheamus got the win in the opener. Not a bad match, but again, the crowd kind of crapped on it. This second match is where I really got upset at the crowd because I thought they would definitely have gotten excited watching these two guys, and that was Sin Cara versus Sin Cara, or as they call them on various sites, Blue Cara versus Black Cara. Mm-hmm. Because if you remember on Raw last week, the bad Sin Cara, the bigger heel Sin Cara, took off the blue mask to reveal a black and silver mask, which is actually a pretty cool looking mask. And because watching two guys look at the same, it would have been absolutely stupid. It just would have been illogical.
The Slammies last year was in New Orleans, December 13th, 2010.
Okay, so that was the last Raw.
Yeah, I'll keep looking.
I don't. Yeah, I think the last pay-per-view was like 2008. I think 07 or 08.
There was a Raw there in early 09 as well. Oh, Extreme Rules 09.
Okay. There was another pay-per-view that I remember they almost had to move it out of the building because of, I don't think it was Katrina, it was something else, but anyway. They probably were better at those shows, and they were certainly better at the 2001 Rumble than they were here. But anyway, Blue Cara versus Black Cara was actually a very good match. The guys hit their spots very quick, fast-paced. And the crowd,
now that's the one I've seen that they said the crowd shit on the most was that one.
Yeah, I was very disappointed. I was actually watching it with our good friend Dr. G, and even he was like, "What the hell's wrong with this crowd?" I mean,
well, for that though, they kind of fucked themselves over because they did not give that feud the time it needed to build. Like, I think they should have put another month of build and had that match of vengeance like they originally planned instead of having it here. I think you just didn't have enough time to sell the whole backstory. Like, you had Black Cara to say, "Oh, you stole my gimmick as Mystico, so I'm stealing yours now," and like that's an interesting story, but they didn't really do anything else with it.
No, that is true. And I think the crowd I don't think they hated it. I think they're more like, what's the deal here? Two masked guys.
Right,
and let's be honest.
03, and I don't see any other.
Okay. And honestly, right now, in the WWE Universe's eyes, there's only one masked guy. That's their guy, and that's Ray. I don't think they've totally...
Oh, Ray may not ever be back.
He may not ever be back. But at the time, right now, we don't know that. But you're right, that may not happen. But I think a lot of fans still embrace Ray as the truly number one masked wrestler in the company. And the match really was pretty good. I thought they really paced themselves well. They had some nice moves, and Blue Cara hits this pretty cool powerbomb for the win. And
now, one of the criticisms I heard, though, is that the Black Cara, instead of wrestling more heel-like, was still doing a lot of the same moves. Like, and maybe that caused a problem as well. He didn't really wrestle a heel style.
Yeah, well, I thought philosophically, I think that would have made a lot of sense because the two guys were trying to counter each other. So I get it, but at the same time, I think this was made more sense logically that the two of them want to try and out Sin Cara the other. So if he was a heel, then it wouldn't have. I don't think the logic would have been there. Maybe if they wrestle again, and I'm sure they're going to again at Vengeance.
Yeah, I still think the problem, like I said, is that they rushed it. They didn't tell that story well enough. They didn't get over why we should hate the other Sin Cara. They didn't really give us a reason to get into it. So I think that's what really killed it in the end.
Well, I agree with that. And I think I'd like to see them meet again at Vengeance. We'll see if they do. The third match was for the Tag Team Championships, and that pitted, of course, Air Boom, Evan Bourne, Kofi Kingston, taking on the charges of one Vicky Guerrero, and that is the United States champion Dolph Ziggler and Jack Swagger. And again, another really good match, and again, another match the crowd just wasn't into. Very weird. And it's not like the Saints were home, or it just was very, very strange.
Well, it's weird too, because the next night on Raw, which we'll get to in a minute, the crowd is really hot. So I bet they wish they had that crowd for the pay-per-view. Yeah, I know. And but instead they had they sat on their hands. But I like this match. A lot of miscommunication at the end. I think they went for some kind of not exactly the decapitation device, but something that kind of looked like it. But instead, Evan Bourne reverses Swagger's powerbomb into a Hurricane Rana and gets the pin, while Ziggler is pulled out of the ring by Kofi. So the Air Boom. And then after, Vicky was yelling and berating Swagger. So it looks like that whole thing is continuing. Yes, and they retain their championships. I said this on last week's show. I'm really digging Vicky Guerrero as a manager. I'm really liking her. And I think after what's going on Raw, I think her run will continue, and I think her stable will get bigger. Yeah, I like the tag team focus as well now. This is, a few pay-per-views in a row, I believe we've had a tag title match, which is good to see, and that was one of the things they said they were going to focus on, was bringing the tag division back, and so far so good. They've done it. Yes, and I think that will continue. I don't know how long Air Boom will hold it, but the fact that there's challengers gunning for them is a good thing. So I believe up next.
Have you seen Sapphire, baby? No, I haven't, Dust, but we're all still looking for her.
Well, earlier today, I was perusing one of my 24/7 tapes, and it was the Wrestling Challenge or Superstars before WrestleMania 9. It was the one with the Yoko Brett contract signing, and there was some stupid vignette of that moron walking around a wood factory near a saw, and I was hoping he'd back into it, but he didn't. Anyway, next up. Just quickly on the Facebook page, we have a good Duggan taunting Scott post because he is the Hall of Famer this month on Classics on Demand. So I put that up, and we got a good 14, 15 comments mocking Scott. So if you guys are interested in the Duggan stuff, check it out. Yeah, well, no one will be watching that, so I hope you all enjoy it. I hope it's riveting programming. I'll pass. Next up, if I get the order right, out came the Intercontinental Champion. Mm-hmm. One Cody Rhodes, who just every day, let's be honest, man, every day he just gets better and better. Oh yeah. His entire persona, his character, the way he talks. Actually, no, you missed one. Perfect. The world title match was before that. Was it before that? Yep. Okay, I wasn't sure. All right, so before Cody comes out, we had the first cell match. I wasn't sure if it was one or the other. Yep. The World Heavyweight Championship is on the line. Hell in a Cell, Mark Henry and Randy Orton. And on my radio show, I went through this whole tirade about cells, and we've talked about it ad nauseum as well, how you need to book the cell around a feud, not the feud around a cell. Right. It doesn't work that way. And this was a case where in the Attitude Era, even in the mid-2000s, I would have craved to see these two annihilate each other. Now, they did have some impressive moves. Mark Henry utilized the steps. Yeah, they would have been better off with these two, like in a false count anywhere. And that's what I think is going to happen. It's funny you say that. Either false count anywhere or last man standing is my prediction at Vengeance. I don't think they're going to wrestle at Vengeance. No? I think they're going to wait another month. I think he's going to fight Big Show at Vengeance based on the spoilers, which we'll get to. Yes, and I was thinking that too. And I think they're going to. I think they're going to do the Orton Cody Rhodes thing maybe for a month, and then I think Orton may get the title back at Survivor Series. I think they want to give Mark Henry a couple months with it. No, he deserves it absolutely. Now, the match itself, again, both guys put on some good spots, loud ones, because when it comes to the Hell in a Cell, it's all about it sounding good as much as looking good. And you knew there was going to be no blood, so they had to at least make it sound good. And there were some decent spots. But I think the kicker, now I was stunned by this. I got to be quite honest with you. I was stunned by this. It's one thing at Night of Champions when Orton could not execute the RKO on Mark Henry. It's another thing to actually hit the RKO and have Henry cleanly kick out of it.
Yeah, they definitely. I mean,
Lord.
The booking of Mark Henry has been amazing. It's really amazing what they're doing with him and how strong they put him over. And credit to Randy Orton as well for letting him blow out of his finisher like that and letting him pin him clean 2 months in a row.
Yeah, I'm stunned. I was stunned. And then eventually Henry gets up, hits the world's strongest slam, and cleanly retains his World Heavyweight Championship. What a run this guy's on. I mean, I thought that he peaked when he was the ECW champion, 2 years ago? No, this is amazing. And it continued on Raw. And of course, SmackDown spoilers continue there as well. But this doesn't end the segment here. The cage is lifted. Henry wanted to go back in and to quote or to stylize a unfortunate anniversary we're going to mention later on. He tried to Pillmanize Orton like he's Pillmanized others in this run, but Orton kicked out of it. They ended up brawling down the ramp, and Orton was giving him some vicious chair shots. Not only did he smack him in the back, he smacked him in the chest. I mean, he was hitting Henry hard. I mean, they were stiff chair shots. Henry then kicks. I think he kicked him in the gonads, and Orton went down, and Henry ran off with his belt.
Yeah.
So overall, a good segment and a pretty good match. But I tell you, Mark Henry is a fucking monster right now.
And his promo work is
he is untouchable right now.
Yeah, he's definitely the best heel they have right now. I mean, Cody's up there as well, but he's definitely there's a lot of good heels going around, but he's right up there with any of the other ones.
Yes, absolutely.
Definitely the best heel monster they've built in a long time.
Yes, I concur. I think they tried this with Great Khali. They've tried it with other guys in the past. They even tried it with Umaga. Just didn't work.
No, he's getting the push that Vader should have gone in 2000.
I know,
96.
Yes.
But
yeah, seriously.
The difference with him and like Umaga, those guys is Henry's backing it up on the mic too. He's cutting some wicked promos. So
yes, he is, because he's not saying much. We're not asking him to be colloquial or wax poetry or something. Just say what's on your mind, and what's on your mind is I'm the world champion. You all disrespected me, so I'm going to make you all pay for it in the house.
Yeah,
in the hall
as
of fame.
always,
that's it.
As always, a lot of this stuff that's born out of reality is usually the best characters, and this guy is just speaking his mind, the truth, how he's felt all these years.
Yeah, so it's just amazing. It's incredible, and he retains his championship. Orton got some chair shots in at the end, but the guy is untouchable right now. And who could ever have thought any of us would ever say that?
All right, I have to tell you an awesome story you're going to love. Our buddy on the blog of Doom, Noir et Blanc, said, forgot to mention I had another temp work, and full credit to him if he's listening to this. Forgot to mention we had another temp worker start at the lab today. His name was Oli. And I said, Oli, like Ole Anderson. And he said, hell yeah, and he threw up the 4 horseman hand signal. Apparently, his dad's a huge old school wrestling fan and named his sons Ole and Arn.
Oh, that is awesome. That is tremendous. And you know what? If he had 2 more kids, he'd name them Tully and Rick. I mean, that's a bit awesome. Yeah. Tremendous.
That's pretty crazy.
That's great. Oh, thank you. That made the night. That's awesome. I don't know. I can't get over that. That's crazy. Oh, I can't believe that.
That's your dream. That guy stole your gimmick.
Oh, damn him. Anyway. So after this, now out comes the Intercontinental Champion Cody Rhodes with his bagmen. That's what I call them, the bagmen. I don't know how close Rotella and I are sitting at that SmackDown, which, by the way, just to let everyone know, Justin was talking about he and our good friend Rob Houston going to that Raw in Boston. Well, the next night, SmackDown is in Bridgeport, which is, about 10 exits up north from here, and Rotella and I are going. So, back-to-back shows. So the Place to Be Nation's got the Place to Be has that week going into Survivor Series covered. Let's put it that way.
I will say
It'll be pretty entertaining headline show.
I think no matter where you're sitting, they'll go out of their way to give him a bag. I think they'll spot him no matter where he is. There's no doubt that he's bag worthy.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. Anyway, so Cody comes out with his bagmen, and he talks about what's going on, and he talks about the
surprised me a bit because Lou Albano is a big, fat, sloppy pig.
I'm sure I'll see plenty of them in Bridgeport that night. So, Cody talks about how cursed the Intercontinental title is, and he's holding the belt, and he throws it in a paper bag. His other bag man pulls out a velvet bag, and I was getting goosebumps because you know me. I've been a mark for belts my whole career, so I was waiting. Oh my God, a new IC
Your
belt!
whole career, huh?
My whole career as a broadcaster,
Your whole
and
career as a human being,
whole career as a human being, along with the midgets, and my whole life I've been a belt mark, and I was like, oh my God, new IC belt! This is crazy. And then he pulls the belt out of the velvet bag, and it was even better than a new belt. He pulled out the old school, layered, classic, Federation era, and I guess transition era, Intercontinental Championship.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what made that belt even better? It was white.
Yeah, that's the old
Even
Razor Ramon / Ultimate Warrior / Jeff Jarrett version.
/ Shawn Michaels.
That's
yes,
right,
absolutely.
Yeah, so it was like the 90, outside of the Warrior having it, it was like the 95-ish version.
Yeah, the 93, 94, 95 IC title. And it was awesome. And even Dr. G was marking out. He goes, see, that's pretty cool. So that the belt that I remember Rock debuted somewhere in the middle of 98, and it had purple leather on the back.
I think he definitely had it by 14. I think it was leading into 14 is when they had the new belt.
I'll have to double check. I feel he still had the old belt at 14.
And I think
he
Rumble he definitely had it, but I think going into 14 is they changed that, and then right after they changed the world title.
Interesting. Well, the world title changed the next night.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, something of that nature, somewhere around there. I thought it was later, but maybe not. Anyway, that belt's dead, and the old school IC belt is back. And he said he would wrestle anybody, anytime, anywhere for this title. And of course, anytime somebody says that, you know what's going to happen. Out comes Marty Funkhauser there.
As I say, lucky for him, they chose the jobber that there is right now.
Yes, and out came John Morrison, who's on an MVP-esque losing streak. And even though it was a decent match, Cody wins wearing his slacks and his dress shoes.
Right, I'm trying to look at this picture. It's small. I think you're right, though. I think he's got the old title there still.
Yeah, I don't think the new belt debuted. I think I remember him wearing it when him and Triple H had that 2 out of 3 at Fully Loaded.
Really?
98. Yeah, I think he had it by then. Because I know he had it at SummerSlam, the ladder match, it's the new belt. I remember when Triple H holds it up with all the flour in his face or whatever. But somewhere in between like April and July, the belt transitioned. Somewhere like that. So Cody Rhodes wins wearing his slacks and his loafers, and it continues getting worse for John Morrison, and it would get even worse for him on Monday. Next up, the Divas Championship is on the line, and yes, my PIC, we no longer have to talk about this. Because if there is a 4th straight pay-per-view where these two wrestle, I think I might put my head through the TV. Because finally, after 2 embarrassing upset losses, Beth Phoenix finally wins the Divas Championship, defeating Kelly Kelly. And now we don't have to talk about... we don't have to have a 4th straight pay-per-view where you and I are like, yeah, she's got to win this time.
I know, ridiculous.
She finally does.
She finally did it, yep.
Yep, she finally did it. And then Raw, Kelly tries to... Well, we'll get to Raw in a minute, but that... I don't know. It got ridiculous. But anyway, Beth Phoenix is your Divas champion finally, after getting upset at SummerSlam, which wasn't a big deal, but then getting upset in her hometown at Night of Champions, which was ridiculous. Now, she's the Divas champion. And finally, our main event, which was, of course, the triple threat match, Hell in a Cell for the WWE Championship. Your champion, John Cena, versus CM Punk versus Alberto Del Rio.
It was the night after WrestleMania. Rock debuted the new IC title.
Okay, so both belts debuted the next night. Okay. So I knew going into this match, I wasn't expecting miracles. I mean, I'm not saying these three were going to put on a bad match, but I knew without blood that this was not going to be particularly violent. You know, Mark Henry and Randy Orton was different. What upset me about this match is I almost feel this was kind of like a elimination chamber type situation. Sure, these guys can't stand each other, but not at Hell in a Cell levels dislike each other.
Right.
And I'm sorry, I'm not knocking him. I know a lot of people are fans of him, but the last 2 weeks of promos, yes, only 2 weeks of promos, hearing Alberto Del Rio keep saying, I'm going to take them to hell, take them to hell. I'm thinking to myself, why are you reading a cue card? Yeah. I just didn't buy it. I didn't buy it.
It's weird how,
you know,
I don't know if the rut he hit in the middle of the air just really messed him up, but he's someone that's really, as he's finally gotten to where he should have been earlier in the year, it seems like his promo work and in-ring he's still been solid, but he just seems to have lost a lot of his heat. He's honestly someone I think that would benefit by going back to SmackDown after he loses the title back.
Yeah, I feel like he got to Raw, and then there was all the Punk stuff like dried out his heat.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, all the Punk stuff like he suddenly got on the back burner. It kind of ruined him. So the match, I don't want to say it was terrible. At least the crowd was finally into it.
Yep.
But I don't know. It didn't blow me away. It was okay. Psychologically, though, in terms of the writing, the end was pretty cool. I will say that. Ricardo Rodriguez gets the key away from the ref, gets the door open, and passes off a lead pipe to Del Rio. While the door's open, Cena FUs Del Rio, or attitude adjusts Del Rio or Rodriguez through the door. As he does that, he turns around and Del Rio clocks him in the head with the pipe and throws him out the door and locks it. Good strategy.
Yep.
Gets in. Meanwhile, about 5 minutes earlier, Punk was put through a table, so he's half out of it. Del Rio clocks him twice with the lead pipe, pins him, and becomes a champion. Now, as the match ends, the cell starts to lift.
Well, before we get to that, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Why did they have Del Rio bother losing the title? Why didn't he just win it the way he won it with the Money in the Bank and just hold it all this time? Do we really need that intermediary change?
I absolutely not. No, and I saw a few people ask that question on our Facebook page, and I believe Graham's History of WWE Facebook page, and a few other places. Why bother? How much sense did it make, really?
Yeah, they didn't.
Why did Cena need another belt? Why did Cena need a 10th reign added on? Really, why?
And like we've said all along, he was going to eventually win it because they wanted him as champion for Mexico tour coming up.
Right. It just made no sense. I didn't get it. But it didn't help Del Rio's cause anymore. I mean, had he maybe won at Night of Champions, maybe he'd have had a little more heat. But I feel like they cut him off. They cut his balls off at Night of Champions just when it felt like they were starting to, grow a little bit and he was starting to get some of his heat back, and then they just chopped him off at Night of Champions. And now they think they almost practically have to rebuild it after winning on Sunday. Very strange. But booking right now is a little strange anyway. And we'll get into that when we talk about Raw. Your opinion may differ, but so anyway, the match ends. And the cage starts to lift. Cena runs in, starts to beat Del Rio down. Okay, logic, fine. All of a sudden, literally like 10 seconds later, two hooded guys come running out of the crowd and jump into the ring and start beating everybody up. All three guys, two refs, everybody, camera guys. Well, the two guys turned out to be, of course, The Miz and R-Truth.
Now
earlier in the evening.
There you go. Yep.
Yeah, earlier in the evening, let me preface. Yes, you're right. We'll preface this by saying earlier in the night, they came to the arena with tickets. Well, Marty Funkhauser threw them out. About an hour later, Miz and R-Truth jumped Air Boom, I think it was, in the locker room. So twice already they were in the arena. Now they come out at the end of after the main event in hoodies and start beating the crap out of everybody in the ring. Suddenly the cage is relowered, the cell. Triple H runs out. Marty Funkhauser runs out. All these people run out trying to get into the cage. Funkhauser goes to run off to try to get the cage, the cell lifted. Of course, he can't. Duh. And it finally ends. The cell gets lifted. The cops come. They pull R-Truth and the Miz off everybody. Triple H starts beating the crap out of him. He throws Funkhauser to the ground. It's just absolute chaos. It felt like a 1999 pay-per-view. Very Russo-ish. And we went off the air. It wasn't a bad show, but the crowd certainly didn't lend it any support. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's what happens when you have 2 weeks of build and a bunch of rematches from the last show. I mean,
yeah,
and heatless gimmick matches that have been beaten to the ground. So they only have themselves to blame for a lot of this.
Yep, I agree.
All right, we'll get into it in the next segment here, but I kind of like I like these overarching mystery angles. I mean, this one's starting to get a little lengthy, but they've been consistent with how they presented it. We'll give it that. So,
well, consistent for me until the next night, and I'll explain why I think that.
All right, so that wraps up Hell in a Cell.
Yep. Our next pay-per-view outing will be Vengeance, which is one of yours and my favorite all-time pay-per-view titles. Sunday night, October 23rd, from the AT&T Center in San Antonio, Texas. And, of course, you know what that means. Oh, my God, Sean's showing up. Because you know how that is. You know how it's been the last 15 years. Anytime a pay-per-view is in a city that's close to where a great guy lives.
Well, there's a chance because he's actually been advertised for house shows or for, I forget what it was for a DX reunion or something. So he may be around during those weeks.
Well, and, you know, we're also in Texas, and you know who else lives in Texas? I don't know how close the Broken Skull Ranch is from San Antonio, but Stone Cold might be there. I'm making a point now because Todd Weber again had to mention it.
Well, it's true.
That
I do say it a lot.
I do say it a lot, but I'm actually going to make a conscious effort to not call him Steve anymore. It's not proper. Hall of Famer should be called by his nickname.
That's right. I'm still waiting for the Greenhouse special. Scotty and Stevie, the two good friends.
Scotty and Stevie, the two. But no, I'm going to do my best to call him either Stone Cold or Austin from here on out. Okay. Mostly Stone Cold, because I think it's disrespectful to call him by just his last name. I try to call him by his first name.
Just call him Stone, anyway. Like Goldust did in 1997.
Like I'll call him Cold Stone, like Tyson did at the Rumble.
We'll have more on Cold Stone in a little bit. So, all right, that wraps up Hell in a Cell. Let's now transition to the Raw report.
Yes.
God, I even give you a warning. You still step all over the musical intro. Aren't you like a radio professional? Don't you know how these things go?
Well, usually when a radio professional, I have a guy pointing at me that he's about to play music.
Well, obviously we can't do that. I mean, I told you very clearly I'm going to play the song when I transition to Raw, and you still got to stomp all over it because you haven't talked enough yet tonight.
Oh, well, I also was not sitting in front of my laptop. I move around. It's a stream of consciousness. I apologize. I'm sure it'll be told on the Facebook page that I'm blowing the transition music. So, anyway.
I can't help it if that's what the fans say.
Yeah, of course you can help it. Don't tell me you can't help it, please.
No, my fault.
Anyway.
No one likes you.
You make people not like me.
Oh, no. You're very unlikable on your own. You don't need me to help.
Really? Then why don't you get your band? Why don't you get Risha to take over, or Drooling Bumbling Boy? Then, if I'm supposedly maybe we'll do a vote on the Facebook page then. If
right,
suddenly
no one likes you, but Rotella generates hate mail, so he's even lower than you. And Derek, everyone was out cold within 3 minutes, so no opinions there on him.
Unbelievable. I'm the one who's unlikable. Please. Anyway. Let's start Raw before you play another song and everybody ends up not listening anymore. All right. Show opens with a match, which you actually commented on the Facebook page in between people insulting me, that it's great for Raw to open with...
your cunt is in the sink!
I'm sure the whole Facebook page believes that too. Randy Orton opens with a win over Drew McIntyre, who... I thought had been pumping gas somewhere.
Yeah, Jobber City for him.
Yeah.
Well, I like that. I like that kind of opener. Old school feel to it. You just kick off with this match. I feel like it allows the crowd to get into the show more than a promo. It allows the commentary to get going right away off the bat, having to call the match and kind of setting up the show. It feels like an old school kind of Raw moment to have a match like that, and you have a really over face against a lower level, basically Jobber to the Stars at this point. It's just really smart booking, I thought, to start off with a match like this, especially with a hot guy like Randy Orton.
Yeah, and it still worked, and the crowd was into it. In fact, the Cajun Dome crowd was much better after the first 5 minutes than the New Orleans Arena crowd was for 2.5 hours.
Yeah. Now, I will be upfront here. I didn't fully watch Raw. I was obviously watching the Yankee Tigers game, so I was flipping during commercials and following along on Twitter and the web. So I know what happened, and I saw parts of it. I just didn't see every minute of Raw like usual.
I had a weird issue with it didn't really affect my watching of the show, though. It was very strange. My DVR, right at the bottom of the hour. Well, we'll continue on before we get to that part. Mark Henry comes in after Orton wins, and they have a scrum, and then Mark Henry cuts a promo saying that, he's the champion and he doesn't care what anybody thinks. And then, of course, the Big Show, who is rumored to return to SmackDown this week, says that he'll just take him back to the Hall of Pain.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's it for Mark Henry. So we'll see him later on along with
another great promo. I liked his delivery here a lot, and
I did too.
His whole, like we said, just his whole persona is tremendous right now.
It is, absolutely. The whiny bitch fest storyline continues. David Otunga and his band of crying misfits.
I like Otunga in this role, though. I think he's really cool as this kind of new version of Clarence Mason. I think he speaks well, and he's not doing a generic wrestling promo where he's got to memorize scripts. He's just kind of speaking and using his intelligence to really put over this storyline. I think he's believable in the role. I like his little coffee mug thing and his little bow tie. I think it's pretty funny. So
yeah,
I like this angle and I like where they're going at. And I almost hope they make him into a manager because they could use managers and he's a good speaker and he obviously sucks in the ring. So, but he's passable enough in the ring to get beat up and do the manager bumping. So I think he's the perfect candidate for a heel manager if they want another one.
Yeah, I agree. And I think this is a good, using his real life law degree he went to Harvard, in case you didn't know, since he mentions it 15 times a show.
Even if they end up having Funkhauser take over Raw at the end, Otunga could be his personal attorney, almost like a stooge. He just works for him directly, kind of like Coach used to for Vince in 2006. So, kind of like that kind of gimmick there. So,
yeah.
There's a lot of possibilities they could go with it.
Yeah, entirely possible. And it's going well right now because it's kind of leading this whole group of disgruntled heels, Christian, Cody Rhodes, and Del Rio, and Vicky, and Swagger, and Ziggler, etc. Funkhauser goes in, says, I'll go talk to Triple H and see what's going on. They all go into the ring, air their grievances.
I was frozen today!
Well, they were frozen during the promo, and then out came Triple H, said, stop your bitching and moaning. I miss the days when we used to fight. And oh boy, I can't believe this. In the background right now is the video of the Jim Duggan song.
It's amazing.
The video. And right after that, the video of the Tatanka song.
Really? So they were showing them all on that show?
Yeah, they're showing like all these clips. There's Boss Man. They're all like 15, 20 seconds each, but pretty fun.
I got my 2x4.
Oh, I walked into that one, so I'll allow it. Oh, there he is wearing the Mr. America outfit, or that stupid
That's
Uncle
what,
Sam
I
thing
thought of it after when I listened back to that show. I can't believe we forgot to talk about the stupid U.S. The singlet that he switched to instead of the tights.
No, but even worse is when he was wearing that that Uncle Sam outfit that was 4 sizes too small.
Oh, yeah. That too. But yeah, we didn't talk about his new tights, though.
Yes,
the
that's
powder
right.
blue with the flag on the back.
With the flag on the back, yes. Here's the nasty.
Well, obviously, yeah, that's right around when that album came out, so they were obviously.
Yeah. Oh, there's the Brett piece. Yes, they must be pimping. It's again, this is the challenge leading into WrestleMania 9, which is fitting because we're kind of around that era on our vaults, and this is all just pieces of all these videos. So Simon Cowell and you are getting royalty checks for this too. So anyway, so the heels are in the ring. Triple H says, "Enough, you're bitching and moaning. Guys used to fight and argue and battle and brawl instead of suing each other. So get ready for your 12-man tag match later tonight and stop your complaining." And he walks out. After that, we have the tag match again. How many times have these four been in the ring together?
Yeah, that's a little ridiculous.
Like 15 times in the last 12 Raws. Eve Torres and Kelly versus Beth Phoenix and Natalia.
Okay, now I didn't see this, but I heard that the Kelly screaming, assaulting was laughably terrible.
It was unbelievably horrendous.
Okay.
She's going, no, and she's smacking her, and it's terrible.
Yeah, I heard
terrible.
I heard it was brutal.
They were trying to make like Kelly into this tough girl, and it just bombed. It absolutely bombed. Beth Phoenix just got up and punched her in the face. To be honest with you, it was just unspeakably bad. Kelly has no business being in a feud this deep. She just doesn't have the chops to pull off an actual feud. She just doesn't.
I think Gail Kim could have been good in this role if they didn't.
I think Gail Kim would have been
some depth.
Absolutely, Gail Kim would have been incredible in this role, and she just sucked. It was just terrible. So that we'll pass that. Triple H is on the phone. Marty Funkhauser walks in, says, no uncertain terms, "I think what you need to do is see if you get a vote of confidence from this roster." He doesn't feel like the king right now. But Funkhauser tells him, why don't you have the whole roster go out to the ring tonight, everybody, divas, refs, everybody, and see what they feel about you and your job role. So he does. We do have a great return. I didn't realize this guy was hurt. I thought they just didn't have anything for him to do.
Yeah, he was in a pretty bad car accident.
Yeah, Santino Marella returned, defeated Jinder Mahal, who quickly went to jobber status.
No more mohawk for Santino, or faux hawk. He's got the full head of hair.
No faux hawk. Yeah, he's got regular hair. Yeah, regular hair. I think the unibrow's gone too.
Oh, how far is Jinder Mahal fallen as well? He's with fighting with Drew McIntyre and John Morrison for the Jobber Hall of Fame right now.
I know. All that from it's kind of sad that you never thought that anybody could ride Great Khali's coattails, but he has successfully done so. Then we have the 12-man tag, and this is where my DVR kind of hit the skids. Right at the top of the hour at 10 o'clock, there was a commercial, a trailer for the new version of The Thing. And I don't know what the hell happened, but all that flashing at the end of the trailer totally wrecked my DVR, and I had no video for the next half hour.
Wow, that's weird.
It was very strange. I lost, so I didn't see any. I audio. So I listened to the 12-man tag match, but I didn't watch it.
The match was Cena, Punk, Mason Ryan, Sheamus, Kofi, and Bourne against Del Rio, Christian, Swagger, Rhodes, Ziggler, and Otunga. The match was 26 minutes and got a lot of rave reviews on the internet that I saw, different other reviews. I caught parts of it here and there, but it seemed like it was pretty hot. Was an elimination. They went all the way, and of course Sheamus got the win for his team, which was pretty big with some of the guys on his side. So a really cool way to bookend, the open and then this main event. Obviously there was the post segment, but as far as wrestling on the night goes, you started off well with the good hot squash match, and then you close with this great 26-minute old school 12-man tag.
Yeah. It sounded good. All right. So to wrap up the show, and I'll try and give you as abridged a version as possible. Everybody comes into the ring. Well, not everybody. Almost everybody. The whole roster comes out. A lot of them, the referees, Kyoto, Chad Patton, all those guys.
Actually, we didn't talk about quick was the YouTube segment, which I thought was really cool. They had footage of Miz's YouTube page, and it was him and R-Truth cutting a promo from like a restaurant.
Again, I missed that because my video was out.
They were saying they wanted the jobs back, and Triple H wouldn't see them adding that they did exactly what Triple H would have done in their position, and they were attacked if they had already surrendered, and they're going to do the wrongful termination lawsuit against WWE. So I like the use of social media there to do it. They, pimp it on Twitter, show it on YouTube, on Miz's YouTube page, and sending in rogue videos. So it's almost like they took what they fucked up about the Punk angle and are fixing it with these two, basically.
Yeah, probably because the Punk angle just got almost too mainstream for them to keep it the way it is, and now they're kind of, in fact, there's an interesting internet tip. When we get to the news and notes, there was something I want to add to our list that I read earlier that you might find interesting in our listeners as well. So the whole roster, referees, divas, for the most part, come out. And then out comes the KOK, the COO, the Game. Cuts a promo about the WWE Universe. They all pay your salaries, not WWE. If they weren't here, you wouldn't be here. They don't want to see lawsuits. They want to see us battle. They want to see great programming. They want to see great product. You're disappointing them with all this nonsense. And then he says, does anybody have any opinions? This is where I had a problem with this whole ending skit. The first guy that talks is Wade Barrett. Wade Barrett talks about the unsafe working conditions, blah, blah, blah. Triple H says, this was the guy who a year and a half ago had his goons rip this set apart, beat the crap out of not just wrestlers, but announcers and the ring announcer, and then destroy the whole set. So he got away with that one. Then Mike Chioda, with his grizzled voice, says he's upset. He feels it's an unsafe working conditions. Referees are getting beat up. Then Beth Phoenix, the Divas champion, says the girls here within the company, nothing's happened to them, but something might happen. We're scared. And after a while, I'm like, this is terrible. All the heels are going to bitch. Really? All the heels are going to complain. Then Jerry the King Lawler comes in. Jerry returned, by the way, last night.
Anal bleeding.
And he
stopped.
Anal bleeding at all. Yep. He was wearing dark pants, so you couldn't see it. And he pretty much contradicts himself like 3 different times in his promo. He tells Triple H, "You're in charge. This is on your shoulders. But we all know that this isn't your fault, and it's a conspiracy, and someone's ruining this for you. But it's your fault." So he's saying the same thing. He's saying 2 different things in the same breath.
I think he was basically saying, it's not your fault. Someone else is fucking with you, but as long as you're in charge, they're going to be fucking with you and messing this up. So you need to step down because that's the only way this shit's going to end. Basically saying Triple H needs to take the bullet.
See, I don't think that was the right path to go. I think instead they should have said, look, you need to fix this, and, we're going to, I don't know, the whole thing just made no sense.
Well, the whole thing is screwed up anyway because Raw hasn't even been that different. Like, I could see if there's been a lot of chaos and injuries, and I mean, that really hasn't been that much chaos, and it's like they had this idea for an angle, which I think is good overall, and I like the way it's going, but there was no air of this feeling, until they started talking about it. You know what I mean? It's like we got a month and a half of true madness of guys, unsafe working conditions. Other than Miz and Truth jumping a few guys, have we really seen, that much of this?
But the other thing that's not making any sense is Triple H is COO of the entire company.
Yeah, that's weird.
If you really want to push this storyline to the limit, then both shows should be walked out on. He's not running Raw; he's running everything.
Yeah. We'll get to that when we read the SmackDown spoilers. But it gets really weird.
It just makes no sense. It's not logical, and then they all leave.
I don't do any tricks.
Well, that's pretty much what the roster said. There'll be no tricks or matches or anything else. So everybody leaves. The only good touch I liked at the end was not only did the wrestlers leave, the announcers left. JR was the last one to leave.
Yep.
But he finally got up and left too. But even the camera guys left.
Yep.
You could see they would go to a camera, the camera you could see being placed on the apron, and they walked out. So
Are you going to the show Thursday night? No, I won't be. Why not? I'm not booked.
Well, you might be now. Stay near the phone, Dennis.
Maybe the time is finally comes. It's 91.
Yeah, exactly. Triple H might need you to be on Raw next Monday night. Anyway, that's how Raw ended. Everybody left. I just didn't like the it was just illogical. Instead of saying, they shouldn't even have put the whole conspiracy thing into play. They should just say, we don't believe in you, and we quit. Instead of putting that, well, we know it's not your fault, but we're leaving anyway.
Well, then you missed the very end, of course. Laurinaitis comes out.
Yes, and he does
stares
that.
At them. Stares at Triple H.
Yes.
Grabs the mic and says,
P.S. Your cunt is in the sink.
And walks away.
How
much would you pay to see him do that? Say that.
Oh, I think it would make Raw, and it would absolutely make Raw. I hope and I wish he would say it. He should say it in a pay-per-view. That way he won't get in trouble.
All right, so there's Raw for you. In-ring, a pretty solid show. A little chaotic with all the storylines going on, but you know what? At least shit's happening. You know what I mean? At least something is going on. While the storylines may not be the best they've ever been, and they may be a little up and down and whatever, there's tons of logicals. At least shit's happening. There was such a stretch there last year and earlier this year where it's just like Raw was just, nothing's happening. You can miss it. At least stuff happens week to week now. And I just want to say Arizona Diamondbacks, Milwaukee Brewers playing Game 4. Arizona just opened up a 7-3 lead with a 2-out single. So Milwaukee had started to chip back away, but Arizona started to pull away again. So
okay.
I don't think we'll ever top the madness of last week's headlines.
No, no, that was crazy. It was like reading a ticker. It was like we were the ticker. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So all right, so that's Raw, and now as we and if you don't like this format, I want you guys to speak up. We've decided to start with if there's a pay-per-view, recap that, and I think each week we're gonna recap Raw and talk about SmackDown since we're going to be doing the headlines on Wednesday now. If you guys don't want to hear Raw and SmackDown talk, just let us know. We'll switch it up. We won't do it anymore. But I think it's a good way for us to kind of hash things out weekly now that we're doing it on Wednesday. So, all right, so Raw's done, and now this music from now on is going to mean skip ahead because we're going to talk SmackDown. I miss that old song.
Yes, I do as well. That
reminds me of the original SmackDown video game.
Yes, I love that video game very much. It reminds me of my favorite wrestling video game match of all time. I believe it was what was the one that had Brock on the front? I think it was 03 or 04.
Yeah, probably.
And this it was a triple threat match. I was actually playing the Ultimate Warrior. It was one of the creator of the Cause. Remember the term Cause back in the day?
Oh yeah.
It was a Caw that our man Jim made for us. And it was Ultimate Warrior, and I was facing Goldberg and the Undertaker on SmackDown for the Intercontinental title. It was a triple threat ladder match. I literally was playing this match for like 47 minutes. It was just blood everywhere, and it was ridiculous. And that theme just reminded me of how much I love those older wrestling games. By the way, WWE 12 comes out I don't know, like a month and a half, I think. I saw the boxes last night at GameStop when I went to pick up NBA 2K12. I saw the boxes.
I wonder if our buddy Stevie Richards, or I guess Michael Manna, his alter ego for T4 Show,
yes,
will be reviewing that, or maybe we'll have him on for a quick segment to talk about it.
Yes, I want to ask him his opinion on NBA 2K12 sales, because I was saying to the guy last night at GameStop that with the NBA season probably starting late, in fact, definitely starting late, if maybe people are going to be itching for a video game to kind of quench their NBA thirst. Kind of curious to see if that's going to happen, but we'll see. That came out yesterday. But yeah, WWE 12 comes out like in 6 or 7 weeks. All
right, once it does, maybe we'll reach out to him and see if he wants to come on and just kind of talk about it, because he's a big video game and technology buff. And he actually, if you visit his website, the T4show.com, I believe it is, he talks a lot about the new iPhone release that's coming out in a few weeks, the 4GS. So if you guys are interested in that, make sure you check him out, and check out all his other stuff too. Follow him on Twitter and Facebook. He always does updates.
Yes.
Tons of good stuff tech-wise. So cool guy, Stevie Richards.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to read quickly the SmackDown spoilers.
Go ahead. Okay.
And then we'll move on. So SmackDown opens with Teddy Long and Zack. Of course, this is from Wrestle Chat as always. Mm-hmm. SmackDown opens with Teddy Long and Zack Ryder backstage, talking about the walkout on Raw. Teddy says Raw's loss will be SmackDown's gain. So again, now, like we said, kind of weird. They almost act like Triple H doesn't run SmackDown at all. So it's like he's only running Raw, which is kind of weird. So Vicky, Ziggler, Swagger, Cody, Otunga, Barrett, and Christian come out, talk about all the grievances, threaten to boycott all events because of the unsafe work conditions unless Triple H resigns. Alberto Del Rio comes out and says that the SmackDown stars won't be on Raw as long as Triple H is COO, and he's here to show SmackDown what Raw will be missing. Teddy comes out and makes the main event. Del Rio then defeats Sin Cara. After the match, Black Cara comes out and defeats the Blue Cara. Attacks him, rather.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like that is going to continue, like you said. Backstage, Matt Stryker interviewed Air Boom, and they said that until Triple H steps down, they will not be on Raw. They'll only be on SmackDown. So even they're pissed. Swagger and Dolph defeated Air Boom in a non-title match. The champions were attacked as they made their entrance and pretty much on defense the whole match. So it looks like Dolph and Swagger are living another day right now at this point. Mm-hmm. Beth defeated Alicia Fox in 30 seconds. As she was in the submission by Beth, and Natalia was screaming at her on the mic, trying to make her cry and scream and everything. So Big Show made his return, came out, talked about returning, and challenged Mark Henry. Mark Henry came out and said he'll deal with Big Show when he's ready, but Show doesn't deserve a world title shot right now. Randy Orton's interviewed by Matt Stryker. He asked him why he didn't participate in the walkout. Orton says he'll deal with Triple H on his own if he has issues with him. Big Show comes back out and says he wants Mark Henry tonight. Zeke pinned Jinder Mahal, not a surprise. Funkhauser showed up in Teddy Long's office, offered his support to Teddy. And then Sheamus and Randy Orton beat Cody and Christian in the main event. And Mark Henry and Big Show had a stare down and teased a brawl to end the show. So there you go. Looks like they are moving along a little bit away from Orton, probably just for 1 month, I think, to get Big Show reacclimated into SmackDown. So there's the SmackDown spoilers. Check it out Friday. It's been a solid show as of late. So it actually got, I think we talked about this last week, the huge rating they got.
Yes.
I think it was like the highest ever or something on for them on cable.
No, it was pretty impressive. Yeah. I think a lot of it had to do with the Cody Rhodes blood, but the one thing I will say quickly before we move on, I want to belabor the point, but at least Randy Orton explained why he wasn't. First of all, he's not a Raw guy anyway. He's a SmackDown. See where all the logic goes in? Who cares if he doesn't walk out? It's not his show.
Yeah.
So who cares if you're not there? You're not. You're a SmackDown guy, not a Raw guy.
Technically, it's the Super Show, so everyone's on. I mean,
True.
You make a good point, trust me, but living in their weird ass logic world.
Yeah. Well, there's another thing that I wanted to bring up quickly before we move on. We'll do it when we do the news and notes, because it's a news note that I read earlier today that just totally doesn't surprise me when it comes to the way the bookers think. But Overall, not a bad show. Of course, catch it on Friday. I do, even with the spoilers. I watch it every week now, and enjoying it a lot. So we'll see how much more they go with it, and we'll see how next Monday is, if quote unquote anybody shows up. It'd be pretty funny if Triple H came out and said, "Sorry, I have nobody." Could you imagine?
Yeah, it'd be interesting what they do. They do like a clip show.
Well,
he should have like NXT guys and like other guys that like Yoshi Tatsu, like, guys like that all on. That don't ever get on TV, kind of like scab guys. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with it. Hopefully they do something different.
Yeah, I could see them all picketing outside or something. It'd be interesting. If they're going to do this, they need to continue the creative end of it and not dull it. So. And so that's that. So there's your spoilers. And as Justin mentioned, if this gets a little tedious for you, we understand, and just let us know. Guys, we don't need the recap. It's cool, or we could do it quicker somewhere else. It's fine. Not a big deal. We figure we should flesh it out a little bit, at least to kind of get everybody up to date. Who may, at the point that we put this cast up, may not have watched it yet. Might save you the time, but let us know. That's why you're there. We're here for you. So whatever your opinions are, definitely appreciated.
All right, and now one segment we're going to do every week to help support our friends, and that is, of course, the Lucha Libre USA recap. And
yes,
I caught the majority of the show. Scott, you were in charge this week of taking notes for us, so I'm going to let you kind of lead the way, and we'll talk about it. We won't go too in depth, but we just want to give you guys a taste of what's happening on that program, and there's a lot of really unique talents there, and I think we should all make it a point to try and support it, because as we said, the more diverse products out there, the better for us fans, and of course, it helps that our good friend is heavily involved. So.
Yes, exactly. So episode number 1, and in case you want to find when it's on, it's Saturday mornings at 10 on MTV2.
Yep, good old school Superstars Challenge feel, Saturday morning.
Exactly. And again, DVR it, watch it anytime. I actually watched it on, I think I watched it Monday. So just DVR it, watch it at your leisure. It's great, and this first show proves it. 3 matches. It's an hour show. The main event that they were pumping all night was a fatal 4-way to crown the inaugural Lucha Libre Masked Warriors Heavyweight Championship.
Yes, and of course, on commentary was Kevin Kelly, who I think has really grown as a commentator. I haven't really heard him on Ring of Honor, but I've heard his work is very good there, and I enjoyed him on the show as well.
Yeah, I liked him. I don't remember honestly, I apologize. I don't remember the play-by-play guy's name, but he's not bad either. Honestly, and I'm not even saying this to be funny. I'm dead serious when I say this. I think this would be a perfect show for you and I to do commentary on. I think it would be very, 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 very unique.
Yes.
Particularly because we're unbelievable hecklers of RJ Brewer. So, anyway, the opening match was a tag match. Now, it seems like over the next few weeks they are going to crown a Lucha Libre Masked Warriors Tag Team Championships as well.
Yep.
So the tag teams are trying to jockey for position. The team is, they didn't say who the individual guys' names were, but the team was called Rudissimo, 2 masked guys, taking on the team of Relic and Sadistico, who are apparently underlings of Liz Mark Jr.
Right, and Relic was in TNA, and that is, I believe, Johnny Stamboli, if I'm right.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you could tell. Definitely lost some mass. He's a lot smaller now, but wasn't bad. The match was fine. A masked intruder came in wearing he knocked one of the Rudissimo guys off the top turnbuckle. And
yes, it is, just to confirm, it is Johnny Stamboli.
It is Johnny Stamboli.
Yeah.
And Johnny Stamboli ended up getting the pin. So Relic and Sadistico get the win over this Rudissimo team. The second match, now, as the show was going on, the 4 participants of the Fatal 4-Way at the end of the night had little promos. And I'll tell you who those 4 guys are when we get there. But they each had like a 2 or 2.5 minute promo. The second match, I don't know if this was a storyline that was dating back to the first season, but Mini Park, who is a guy that kind of looks like La Parka, or was it Psychosis? Had like the skull mask and like the skull outfit. Mm-hmm. They call him Mini Park. He apparently was wrestling his wife, Rosetta Park, who's just a beautiful Hispanic woman wearing his outfit, in a mini lumberjack strap match. It was a strap match where they could hit each other with it, but there were only 4 people outside the ring. By the way, the ring is like old school TNA. It's hexagonal, 6 sides, yeah. And Mini Park won the match. I don't know if that was a storyline that started last season but backstage he was reading. Mini Park was reading papers that that we're talking about like divorce and you know, some type of issue with his wife, and the girl was reading it for him and said, "You have to face her tonight in a mini lumberjack strap match."
All right, now just to clarify, Wikipedia says it was Kevin Kelly and our friend Stevie were the announcers. They didn't sound like Stevie, but I guess
that wasn't. No, it wasn't Stevie. It wasn't Stevie. It was some
Okay.
other guy.
All right.
No, it wasn't Stevie. I would know because it would have been two color guys. It wasn't Stevie. It was some other dude.
Okay.
Next up is the highlight of the show for me. There's some weird storyline where this guy, his name is Halloween Pequeño. Some short Mexican dude with a jack-o'-lantern t-shirt.
Well, Pequeño means small, so small Halloween. And Halloween
Halloween.
Halloween is a luchador. He was in WCW a little bit here and there, mainly in AAA.
Was he? I vaguely remember him. But yeah, he had on a jack-o'-lantern outfit, and yeah, Halloween Pequeño. He's looking for his wife. Or his girlfriend or something. He busts into a room where she's playing poker with other guys on the roster, I guess. He gets all pissed off, flips the poker table over, and drags her out. At first, it didn't hit me, and I'm looking at the other guys. There were a couple of masked dudes. And then I realized who the fourth guy was at the table. I couldn't believe it. Could not believe it. Wearing his headdress and everything.
I'm curious if he's going to be... We got to ask John if he's going to be on... I mean, because they've taped all these episodes already in the can, so...
Right.
I'm curious if he's actually going to be part of... He's listed under the active roster on Wikipedia, so he must be on the show.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's hilarious.
And John said he liked working with him, right? Didn't he say that on the podcast?
So it was his favorite opponent of all time.
Yeah, okay. So he must obviously be involved in this then.
Yeah, it was crazy. Absolutely crazy. I'm like, wait a minute, what the hell is he doing there? So bizarre. Then finally, we have our fatal four-way for the Lucha Libre Masked Warriors Heavyweight Championship. Your four participants, Lizmark Jr., Charlie Malice, another Mexican wrestler who had his
creepy
face.
ass looking.
Yeah, he is creepy. He's got his face is like don't tell me. I can't think of his name. God damn it. The wrestler that feuded with Sting there at the end. Vampiro, thank you. His face looks exactly like Vampiro. It's
not
the white...
Vampiro, is it though?
No, somebody else. But it looked like him. The makeup looked like him, but it's not him. Marco Corleone, who of course is Mark Jindrak, and R.J. Brewer, our guy. And let me tell you something. He cut some pretty good promos.
Yeah, well, the show actually started off with him in a funny thing where he's standing by the border fence, talking about how he's going to crack down and really make sure there's no illegal immigrants. And as he's doing it, they're showing all these different luchadors scaling the fence behind him as he's ranting and raving about not letting them in the country. And then he's got these big, stupid, reflective sunglasses on, and he's at the end, he just stares out into the distance at the fence. It's pretty good.
It is very good. John did a hell of a job.
Yeah, he's a prick, and it works.
Yeah. So there was your fatal four-way for the inaugural Lucha Libre Masked Warriors Heavyweight Championship. The match is great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was really good.
Very much.
Yeah, good main event.
Very well done. Very well done. He does get a pin. He actually pins Charlie Malice.
Mm-hmm.
But then he ends up getting pinned by Marco Corleone, who ends up getting pinned by Lizmark Jr., which really disappointed me because I just don't think he's very good.
Something tells me his reign does not last
probably not
terribly long. So
no. But he wins a match. He is the first Lucha Libre Masked Warriors champion. However, the cool part of this whole match, R.J. Brewer, John, pinned Charlie Malice with help of a newcomer.
It was a masked man at first.
It was a masked man at first. Then this masked man hits a very familiar and very devastating finisher.
Mm-hmm.
And that move is the Canadian Destroyer. Of course, I'm talking about P.D. Williams.
Yep. And John, or R.J. Brewer, from what I've read and seen, this is going to be the start of a stable, the two of them. So.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That's tremendous. But the show ends with Liz Mark Jr. holding up the title. So a pretty good first episode. A lot of storylines advanced.
And it sounds like MTV and the backers are pretty into this, so I don't think it's going anywhere. So if you want to get into it, don't be afraid that it's going to get yanked out. As of right now, it looks like it's going to be a long-term thing. So check it out. It's a fun show. It's an old school. It's a different show. They're really starting to get the production down a little bit, and Kevin Kelly, like I said, settling in as the main voice of the show, and they finally started to build. The first season didn't have a lot of tiers and titles. It was just kind of weekly shows, just getting the characters over. Now we're starting to get some progression and some storylines and angles. So definitely check it out. It's worth checking out. So
yeah, I would undoubtedly, and I will. We will have a monthly. I will continue to take notes, and we will have a weekly segment recapping the show. So stay here. Stay tuned right here for that.
All right, let's move along.
Yeah, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we will give you the weekly news and notes from around wrestling. But first, let us take a moment to recognize our news and notes sponsor, and that is our good friends at WrestleChat.net. Because
for wrestling considerations, painful are the following. Very nice.
Pro wrestling news websites do you visit to get your daily news? 3, 4, maybe 5? Do yourself a favor and make that number 1. WrestleChat.net, the only professional wrestling news site that brings you all wrestling news all day long, and is home of the critically acclaimed Still Real to Us podcast, starring former CZW, ROH, and ECW announcer Eric Gargiulo and the champ Jeff Beck. That's WrestleChat.net. WrestleChat, it's where it's at.
Ogiante, visit a WrestleChat. I'm reading on the news.
Very nice, Jeff Beck is the champ. How much? WrestleChat.net, a tremendous site. Everything you want to know about the world of professional wrestling. MMA, I think, is on there as well. They have a great message board talking about a lot of stuff. And, of course, while you're reading your news and notes, just peruse to the right side of the page, and right there is the link to right here, Place to Be Podcast. So you can check out your news and notes, turn to the right, and bang, the banner's right there. So click on it, and you can listen to us. It'll go right to our Podbean page. WrestleChat.net, your home for all news and notes in professional wrestling.
Read the news.
Hello, listeners. This is wrestler professional R.J. Brewer. That's right. I'm a professional wrestler. I am not a Lucha Libre superstar. And this fall on MTV2, you can watch Lucha Libre USA Mass Warriors, but you're not going to watch it for the six-sided ring, the silly capes, the flips, and all those stupid Lucha Libre rules. You're going to watch it because you're going to want to see professional wrestler from America. That's right. I'm from America, and I'm to represent America, R.J. Brewer. See, my mother, who's the most powerful woman in Arizona, sent me with her blessing to this company, this God-forsaken company, to clean it up, and that's exactly what I'm going to do this fall. Make sure you watch. If you're a proud American, you're going to want to see me clean up the filth. And you're also listening to the Place to Be podcast. I'm supposed to say that. Hopefully they don't have any immigrants on their show, but if they do, delete it.
But wait a minute, I have a problem. Isn't El Guillante an immigrant?
El Guillante from Spain.
Oh, boy.
A lot of anger from John. A lot of anger.
Yes. But definitely watch the show. It's really good. It'll captivate you. It's a fun hour of television.
Yeah, it goes
it really
by
is.
All right.
Yeah, it does.
Let's quickly buzz through some of these news and notes. All of these, of course, as always, are from our friends and brothers and sisters at WrestleChat. First up, we have the Raw rating from October 3rd, this past Monday, 3.04, up from their 292 the week before, and the highest since the end of August. So a little bit of a rebound. I'm guessing part of that had to be the kind of a weak football game, Tampa and Indy. Raw actually ranked third behind Monday Night Football and the baseball playoff game, Yankees and Tigers. So a pretty good showing for them at this time of year, especially with Monday Night Football and baseball playoffs to go up against, plus other television programming. So,
do you think it would have? And I don't want to cross sports and wrestling here, but we are talking about ratings. Was it the Yankees that if you think if it was like any of the other three series that Raw might have hopped it?
No, I don't think so. Anyway? I think people were going to watch the baseball playoffs. I mean, unless it was I think all these series are pretty good. Even Milwaukee, Arizona, I think has some appeal as far as games go. And then St. Louis, Philly obviously does, and Tampa, Texas does as well. Texas, major market there. So
true.
They said actually last year's post Hell in a Cell Raw popped a 3.3 rating, the highest of the whole fall. And that had the fall off, of course, of John Cena losing to Wade Barrett and forcing him to join the Nexus. So that was the night last year, the same night. And Raw and Monday Night Football last year on this night had a 13.9, and this year was 10.1 million. So obviously, like we said, it was down mainly probably due to the game. Actually, while I'm reading this next story, you want to look up and see what the game was last year? Kind of curious.
Yes. What was the Monday night game last year? Let's take a look.
All right, I'll read the next story while you're doing that. And this is, of course, about Michael Cole. And I did notice a lot of people talking about how he seemed a little more tame this past week and a little more tolerable for some people. And it said that Vince McMahon was not in his ear like he usually is. And Michael Cole's kind of left alone. So you wonder if that's going to be something they're going to do more often, or are they going to just kind of a one-week aberration? But it seemed like a lot of people were happy that Cole was a little less, a little more toned down, a little less off the wall like he has been lately without Vince screaming in his ear.
Okay. All right, what week was it again? It would be...
you'd have to look up the date of the pay-per-view, which was October 3rd last year, so it would be October 4th.
Okay, it was the Patriots and the Dolphins.
Okay, so New England on Monday night, obviously, is going to pop a bigger rating than Tampa and Indy. You know, maybe not. If Indy had Peyton Manning, they probably would have done better, but a moribund Indy team going into Tampa obviously is not going to draw too big, so... No. All right, here's a good story that you're into here. Sources report that WWE officials are looking at Sheamus to be the next big star for the SmackDown brand. Will be pushing him as a major player going into WrestleMania. The idea is that Mark Henry, Randy Orton, and Sheamus are going to be the cornerstones of the blue brand. Vince McMahon has always been a fan of Sheamus, but has taken more of a liking to him as late. Regarding early ideas for WrestleMania next year, several which will likely change several times, Sheamus challenging Henry for the world title is being penciled in. So looks like Mark may actually hold the title through then, and it'll be kind of interesting if they leave Orton out of the picture where he'll be at.
I think that would be tremendous because I think that would make WrestleMania that title because
but actually,
if the other two.
Go ahead, I'll let you finish.
No, I was going to say if the other two matches. That are being rumored, the non-titled main events are fine. Then why not keep it?
Yeah, but where does Daniel Bryan fit into this now? Is he going to challenge for the Raw title? He can't, right? Isn't it? It's the SmackDown briefcase, isn't it?
Yeah, this isn't a crossover.
And he already said he's going to be challenging at Mania. So
yeah,
interesting.
Yeah, it is very interesting. Unless he decides to do it at Elimination Chamber, or I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. But I've already said it to you that I'm a huge Sheamus fan right now. And you heard it here on the Place to Be podcast. I think he's going to win the Rumble.
Interesting. Oh, we'll see.
We'll
see as we get closer. Things can change a million times, but it'll be curious. Well, I'm kind of curious what they're going to do with Orton if he's not in that title match, unless he somehow ends up with Raw. He seems like he may be lost in the shuffle this year, unless they're going to build to something with him and Cody for Mania. But I can't see them building it out that long from now. All right. Next story. According to sources close to the situation, Chris Jericho's been talking with WWE about his future. Jericho's return may not be a full-time thing and maybe a limited schedule, something similar to The Rock. There's no word yet when he may return, but believed he'll work again closer to 2012. So we'll keep you posted on the Jericho thing. We don't need to get too much into that because it doesn't seem like it's imminent. As noted before, now here's another push for the next year, in addition to Sheamus. CM Punk is scheduled to feud with WWE champion Alberto Del Rio for the next few pay-per-views, and the company's getting ready to go full-blown with his push after being surprised by recent merchandise numbers. There's been a lot of talk that Punk will win the WWE title late 2011 or early 2012 and carry it into Mania. WWE officials do not want the title to be part of Cena and Rock at WrestleMania. So there you go. We've been talking about that since March. If the title would be on the line between those two, it looks like as of right now it's not going to be. So maybe we get Punk Orton again, maybe for the title at that show.
It would be entirely possible. It's good that they're not going to put the title on Rock Cena. You don't need it.
No.
And then all you're going to do is water the show down.
Yeah.
By double dipping that match.
So it looks like it'll be Alberto and CM Punk. So I wonder what Cena does over the next show until obviously we already know what he's going to be doing at Survivor Series. But it'll be curious what he does at Vengeance. So so there you go.
And Survivor Series seems to be building to something. We don't have it on our list tonight, but
I'm going to talk about it. I'm adding it in, so we'll talk about it.
Oh, okay,
you know what? Fuck it. Let's do it right now. Hang on one second.
Okay.
Let me pull up the.
While you're looking it up, the rumor that's been going around, and this is a big deal, is they're going to have a WWE versus anti-WWE 10-man elimination match at Survivor Series at Madison Square Garden. Vince is treating Survivor Series very seriously this year.
Yes,
he wants
definitely
to be a big
put it over big time. All right, here's the actual story. This is from WrestleZone. This year's Survivor Series already announced that it will feature John Cena and The Rock teaming together for one time only. WrestleZone has learned that The Rock and Cena together on a team is part of the massive main event they want to promote for Survivor Series. As of now, the current plan is for a team that is anti-WWE to face a team defending WWE. The anti-WWE team is not fully known at this time, but obviously would feature the future endeavored stars like Miz, R-Truth, and Kevin Nash. There are said to be other names talked about internally to align themselves on that team, even Vince McMahon being rumored as a participant, but a full lineup is not yet known. On the other side, the WWE is definitely going to feature The Rock, John Cena, and Triple H. After speaking with sources, they want to have another big name involved, and as of now, the two names on their wish list are Undertaker or Stone Cold Steve Austin, because they are both huge names and symbolize the legacy of WWE. It is believed that the team would only have one of those two men. If Austin was to be involved, I was told this would ensure CM Punk being on the other team as well, or on their team as well. Rock and Cena feud has been featured on screen and on Twitter. Stone Cold Punk rivalry has been acknowledged as well. It would be a great fit for everyone together, is what a source said. The source did say they feel if Austin was to be on his team with Punk at Survivor Series, the chances of him performing in a big singles match at WrestleMania would highly increase. I asked why he feels that way, and he said because if he has another match, it would be CM Punk, and it makes sense that the two big featured matches at Mania would all be teammates at Survivor Series, as they try to defend WWE and preserve traditions like WrestleMania. From what I'm hearing, Steve Austin's a tougher name to get to agree to do the match. Austin's never ruled out getting in the ring again, but wants it to be the right situation. Undertaker's a more likely option, as most of the company are expecting him back in the next couple months to get ready for WrestleMania, which kind of conflicts what we've heard before. And also they're saying that Del Rio winning the title at Hell in a Cell was a game day decision. Apparently, part of what caused that last-minute change is the uncertainty of where everyone fits in at Survivor Series. Originally, Cena being involved in the Survivor Series team match while being the champions to plan, but now they want to have a separate championship match. So, there you go. Be interesting to see the build-up to that show, if Austin does get involved, or if they bring Taker back, which is kind of a shock, and where they go with that. So, a lot of cool stuff, and in a way, it's funny because they've tried to do this purposely before, but now they've kind of backed into almost having another NWO style angle if they really wanted to run with it, having Nash lead these guys back in.
I agree, and they're all good quality promo guys and face guys who could pull off the angle. Yeah. So
it's interesting that they've almost backed into another hot angle if they could do it right.
I know, it is very interesting. Next tidbit is our continuing. It's like our weekly
weekly update.
My PICs and my weekly network update. WWE is looking for ways to put out more content from WWE Studios and have it be a big part of the WWE Network. The movie division, which is currently in a reorganizing phase, reportedly has a new strategy and will be looking to release more movies per year and more titles internationally. WWE Studios is currently looking into doing more sequels of past movies and have screenwriters right now working on a draft for The Marine 3.
Oh, Jesus. Maybe Jinder Mahal will be in that one.
Exactly. Or
actually, you know
Drew McIntyre.
El Gigante, the Marine.
Yes.
Fighting all the people in the forest, defeating them all with his furry man suit.
hiding in the woods.
All right. Big story here, not WWE related, of one of our rare jaunts into TNA. Hulk Hogan has renewed his contract with TNA, specifics of the agreement not disclosed, though company officials wanted the deal finalized prior to his scheduled match at Bound for Glory. And also, what does this mean for the future of Eric Bischoff? It sounds like he'll be sticking around as well. So I put that as somewhat of an upset. It looked like I thought for sure they were going to use this as their way out finally. He'd go out with this match with Sting and then ride off and go focus on his midgets playing basketball on the Micro Championship Wrestling. But actually, no. So, it'll be interesting to see where they go now with this. Hogan obviously needs the money. So on one hand, I'm not surprised that he's going to keep stealing money from Dixie Carter. But on the other hand, I am. I thought they were looking for a way out. So
I have no words. I don't have any words. I'm looking forward to, within the next 24 months, the company just going out of business. They just don't seem to care.
I don't think so. I don't know. We've heard that for so long. I don't think they're going out of business.
I mean, they just don't seem to care.
Yeah, no,
I mean, creatively, it's
a
train
wreck. They don't know what they're doing. Yeah, they care. Well, actually, they've really been doing a great job with Bobby Roode winning the Bound for Glory Challenge Series and then defeating Kurt Angle clean and now will be will be facing Kurt Angle now. He won the tournament.
Yeah.
So that is hopefully going to be the main event of Bound for Glory. And they actually, for the first time in a long time, have done a great job building their own star. And he could be the main guy if they really do it correctly. If they put him over clean on Angle or at the pay-per-view and have him win the title. I'm not sure. Is it this Sunday? I'm not even sure when it is. But obviously.
Yeah, I think it's 2 weeks. I think it's the 16th.
Okay.
I think it's the 16th. I've been a big Robert Roode fan for a while. I've always liked him. I've always liked his work in the ring, and I'm happy for him. I love Beer Money, one of my favorite tag teams, and I hope he wins. To be honest with you, he probably will. Well, shouldn't say that. If it's not the main event, who the hell knows?
I think it'll be an event. Yeah, they can't put Hogan Sting on last. They can't.
Ugh, God, I hope not. But you never know. So I don't know what the future holds. But one quick note that I wanted to pass along before we move on. I think I saw it on Lords of Pain. I can't find it right now, but I do remember what it was. Apparently, the WWF writers want to start working on more storylines that involve what people are talking about on the internet. So, getting back to what we talked about a long time ago about social media, is social media now going to drive WWE creative? Wouldn't surprise me.
I mean, it makes sense in a way, obviously, with all the focus they put on Twitter on the show each week. And
yep.
I wouldn't be shocked if I guess in a way it's good. Start listening to the fans and picking up on what they want to see and go with that. I mean, it's already worked on outside parts, not creatively, like the Classics on Demand and the greatestmatches.com. They take a lot of input from the fans on the Facebook and Twitter pages. So maybe they saw success with that and they wanted to, continue it on to creative.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if that's what they maybe base their 2012 creative plans on. Obviously, if you're emphasizing a guy like Punk, he's the kind of guy that social media could rally around, or I didn't word that right. Social media could rally around him, and maybe it may end up being something that could be a big proponent for 2012. So curious to see. But I wanted to bring that up because we talk about it often here on the Place to Be about social media, and I think if creative's going to pay attention to it, it should be very interesting. So, all right, so there's our news and notes segment. Hope you enjoyed it, and you can check all that stuff out on WrestleChat.net. And now, you know what it's time for.
I'm going to let you go ahead and read the nominees this week as a special present to you.
Okay. Let me just get to our page, Place to Be Podcast page, and find the asshole of the week. Let's see. Let me find the... Oh, here we go. 7 comments. 7 nominees. All right. Here are the 7 nominees for the PTB Asshole of the Week. Number 1. How about Daniel Manning for messing up the kick return for a touchdown? I'm assuming that's about the Sunday night game, I'm assuming?
No.
Daniel Manning.
No, he's on Houston, isn't it? Wasn't he? Yeah, it was Houston, where he ran it back, but he... What did he do? I'm drawing a blank now. He did something stupid. He did a pointless block in the back or something.
Oh, okay. All right. I remember. All right. That's right. I did see that on the halftime show. That's right. Kieran Polland.
The hot Scott.
Yes. WWE Creative for booking a pointless Cena title reign that lasted only 2 weeks. What the fuck was the point in Night of Champions? Well, you and I talked about that earlier, and we concur. Jay Hunter. I think Vince just thinks changing the title every pay-per-view will make people flock to see every pay-per-view. Not that it makes it. He was commenting on Kieran Polland. Rob Houston. Rex Ryan. Enough said. And my nomination of the Red Sox from last week. Matt Souza, WWE for having 3 pay-per-views in 5 weeks. How do they expect the bill to be sufficient for any of these shows? I'm interested in seeing what the buy rate will be for Night of Champions, Hell in a Cell, and Vengeance. Jason Greenhouse, the New York Jets. I'm a diehard Jets fan, and their performance they gave on Sunday night against the Ravens was pathetic. And finally, the master of the apostrophe, J. Arsenio D'Amato. Rex Ryan using a timeout to argue with the refs and then sucking up to his old boys on the Ravens after they waxed the Jets. Our defending assholes of the week was the pink-hatted Red Sox Nation.
Led by D-Bag LaRue and Matt Rotella.
Exactly. This week, I don't know, man. I hate to do this to you, but seems like there's a lot of asshole love for your Gangrene. They did play a pretty horrible game Sunday night.
They did, but their offensive line was a disaster. They really were playing undermanned in that game. We'll get to that more in a little bit when we do our preview.
Yes.
All right, mine's a two-way tie. One for the Red Sox for firing Terry Francona, which I didn't think was necessary. Mm-hmm. And the other would be I agree with Karen Polland for booking the pointless John Cena title reign. I thought that was really stupid and took away a lot of Del Rio momentum.
I'm actually going to vote for creative as well, because Francona seems like, the way he's commenting now, seems like he was ready to get out of there anyway. Seems like this Red Sox team this year was just one snotty, obnoxious asshole after another.
Yeah, I'm sure he was ready to get out, but I just feel like they unfairly laid a lot of blame on him when I don't know. I think he deserved better.
Well, I almost was going to vote. You know what? I may vote for a separate asshole of the week within that Red Sox team, and that's a guy that I thought was going to win the MVP, and I don't think he's even going to come close. And that's Adrian Gonzalez, who got all pissed off because the Red Sox played too many Sunday night games.
Yeah.
Seriously?
Go back to San Diego. You didn't have to take the money. You could have stayed there if you don't want to
go
play
back to San Diego where nobody's watching you. Exactly. But I'm gonna go with creative because we talked about Del Rio getting his nuts cut off, and that's exactly what happened. So stupid move at Night of Champions just to have him win it back at Hell in a Cell. Just made no sense whatsoever.
All right. So Dirty Creative is our week 4?
Week 4. Yes, we had 2 weeks of Matt Hardy, and then the Red Sox Pink Hats, and now we have to have a running list.
All right. Yeah. Hopefully, one of the nation made Jason Greenhouse can whip up some kind of Photoshop with all the winners.
Yes. So Matt Hardy, the Red Sox Pink Hats, and this week your asshole of the week is WWE Creative for the 2-week John Cena reign.
Okay, perfect. If we can time this segment out to that song every week, we'll be in good shape.
Yes, absolutely. All right, we will leave wrestling for the evening, and we will talk about sports now. And before we do our Week 5 picks, let's do a quick little walk around of the Major League Playoffs. The Division Series have not yet completed. One series is done, and congratulations to the Texas Rangers for returning to the American League Championship Series, taking out the Tampa Bay Rays in 4 games. Adrian Beltre, Mr. I don't need a cup, was like 1 for 11 in the postseason, and then he hits 3 home runs on Tuesday, and the Rangers advance. They will play the winner of
the Rays. Story comes to an end there.
Yes, magic carpet ride landed, but hey, great season. Although there's a lot of, we could have an addendum asshole of the week for the Tampa Bay area. The ratings for the postseason games were awful. None of the games sold out.
Yep, and their owners basically talking about leaving at this point because he's saying it's a joke. They've been in the playoffs now, 3 out of 4 years, and one of those was a trip to the World Series, and they're still just not drawing.
Well, that's what happens when you live in the state of Florida, one of the nicest states in the country, and you build a concrete mausoleum for your ballpark. Stupid. So you have no one to blame but yourselves. There's rumors that they want to move them to Connecticut. That's not going to happen.
No, I think Portland's the spot.
Portland, Oregon?
Yes.
Really?
Yep. I think that'd be a good place to go.
Interesting. Okay. So anyway, the Rays are out, and Texas awaits the winner of the other series, which starts tomorrow night, or concludes tomorrow night, and or Thursday night, depending when you're listening to our podcast. In the Bronx, the Yankees and the Tigers tied at 2, and AJ does it again. You know, his 2 playoff wins last night and Game 2 of the 2009 World Series, I think he's pretty much made all the money that he's been on that contract.
Yeah, he earned it. He earned everything with last night's performance. And actually, even his game last year against Texas in that deciding game, he pitched all right. He made one bad pitch because Girardi left him in too long. And he didn't make that mistake last night. He pulled them in a good spot. You know, I think there were 2 on and 2 out. He pulled them. So, and of course, we're going to talk about Curtis Grandis and the 2 ridiculous catches he made.
It was amazing.
Part of that game, and the offense finally woke up. So I was nervous going into that game, but I feel pretty confident going into tomorrow night with Nova and Fister. I think the offense woke up. I can't see them losing at home unless Nova completely implodes. But if Nova can get to the 6th with a lead, it's over. Because then you got Robertson for 2 and Mariano for 2 tomorrow night. I think they'll go with so.
I am on, and I've been talking about him all year. I've been firmly on the Supernova bandwagon. I've I've liked him from the beginning, and he's gotten the job done. And he calmly goes out there and throws the ball, and he's gotten a good job. He's mixing his off-speed stuff, and he's kept this lineup off balance. And I like your guys' chances tomorrow night.
Well, now they've also said Girardi's announced that Sabathia will be available out of the bullpen, but Verlander will not, the Tigers have said. But the good thing for both of those teams is that whoever wins, because of the rain out and the way things fell, they have their ace lined up for Game 1 of the ALCS, which doesn't always happen.
Exactly, and the Yankees will get a day off. And the Texas obviously rooting for Detroit because I believe if Texas is finished second in terms of record. So if they play Detroit, the Rangers get the home field. If you guys win, obviously Texas has to fly to the Bronx on Saturday night. So obviously they're rooting for Detroit, but we'll see what happens. And the National League side, as Justin has mentioned throughout the show, Game 4 going on as we speak at Chase Field in Phoenix, where the Diamondbacks are playing Game 4, trying to avoid elimination and go back to Milwaukee.
Up 7-3 right now, top of the 6th. Milwaukee's got 1 on, no outs.
Okay, so if Milwaukee wins, they're in. If Arizona wins, we go to Game 5 on Saturday. On Friday night at Miller Park. Today, though, being stretched to a Game 5 is the Philadelphia Phillies, who lost Game 4 today at Busch Stadium 5-3 to the Cardinals. Obviously, I'm rooting for the Cardinals, the lesser of two evils for me. And,
I don't mind the Phillies overall, but if the Yankees are going to keep continuing on, obviously I'd rather the Phillies be eliminated. So,
anybody else but them. I don't care who the others. Whoever else wins is fine with me as long as it's not them. I don't know if the Cardinals can win Game 5 against Halladay in Philly.
Yeah, well, they got Carpenter going, so it's not like they got a scrub going. They got their best guy.
Right.
So.
Right. So we'll see what happens.
And remember this, everyone talked so much about the Phillies pitching and how they're going to rip off all these titles. Remember, Smoltz, Maddox, and Glavine only won 1 when they were together, and they're better than these 3 guys. So
I agree. Yeah, so we'll see what happens. We'll get more into the postseason next week. All right, we are ready to go. Get your picks ready. Get your slips ready. Not that we do slips here. Wink, wink. It is now time for the place to be NFL Weekly Preview, Week 5. All right. I went 9-7 again last week.
I did too as well. I think.
So we continue. I maintain my 2-game lead. I have 39 wins. You have 37 wins.
No, actually, I lied. I went 8-8. Oh God, okay. I've been awful.
So you have 36. So I have a 3-game lead over my PIC. Plenty of weeks.
I'm bouncing
left,
back. I'm bouncing back.
Still have 13. Still have 13 weeks to go. So, as I mentioned, this is the first week of buys, and we have 6 buys this week. 6 teams have the week off. The Cleveland Browns, the Dallas Cowboys, who most certainly need it, the St. Louis Rams,
who also need it badly.
Yeah, very badly. The Miami Dolphins, who also need it badly. So unfortunately, we will not hear Corey Hart this week. The Washington Redskins and the Baltimore Ravens, who probably don't want the bye after where they played. But
they didn't play. Their defense played well, but their offense did not have a very good game. For as much maligned as the Jets were for that game, Flacco, I think, had 140 yards, and I mean he didn't really play that well either. So
right,
it was just that the Jets' offensive line was such a train wreck, and Sanchez. I mean, say what you want about Sanchez, but no quarterbacks are going to be able to play well under those circumstances. Look at Roethlisberger this year, disaster with a bad offensive line. Same thing with Tom Brady in those games against the Jets and the Giants in the Super Bowl. No matter how good your quarterback is, if he's getting the shit kicked out of him, he's not going to be able to get much done. And Sanchez has been, I think it's tied for 4th in the most times being hit this year already. It's like 25 times or something ridiculous. So in one of those games against Jacksonville where I don't think he got touched once, maybe once. So most of those have come over the last couple of weeks.
And the Cowboys coming off a really bad loss where they had a second. I mean, they should be 4-0. I hate to say it. They should be 4-0.
Yeah, probably.
And they're not.
I still don't think they're in bad shape, though, because Philly's
no, I don't think they are
1-3. They're 2-2. They're only a game behind Washington, who they have a win over already. And I don't know how much Washington's going to hold up. And then the Giants. So, they still have the 2 games with the Giants. So I think they're in decent shape, especially when they get Miles Austin back after the bye. So, and the good news is you're going to get Austin back, and then they're going to play the Patriots. So it's good timing to get Austin back against that awful, awful secondary.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be the battle of 2 awful secondaries. I think you might see Romo and Brady throw for like 500 yards each.
Yep.
But anyway, let's get to this week's schedule. We have 13 games. We have 8 early games. We'll begin at Heinz Field in Pittsburgh, where the Steelers, coming off a tough road loss to the Texans, a lot of injuries, taking on a actually pretty good Tennessee Titans team all of a sudden. Matt Hasselbeck's playing well.
Yeah, he's been playing great.
I don't know if this is an upset or not because I don't know who's favored.
Pitt is favored.
All right, well, I'm taking the Titans. No James Harrison. The Pitt defense is struggling. Roethlisberger's a little gimpy. I think their confidence is a little shaken right now. I think Matt Hasselbeck might have been the best thing that ever happened to this Titans franchise. He came into the right place at the right time with all the turmoil with Fisher and Vince Young. I'm taking Tennessee.
I'm probably hanging on to them 1 week too late, as I have been all year with these teams, but I still believe in Pittsburgh. At home against Tennessee, this is a game. It's basically a must-win game for them. Tennessee's playing with house money, coming off 3 big wins. They beat Baltimore and then another big win last week. I don't think they're good enough right now yet to go into Pitt and defeat the Steelers, especially in what's basically a must-win game for Pittsburgh. I think Tennessee comes back to earth a little bit, and then I think they have Houston next week, so I think maybe they start looking ahead a little bit to that big divisional game, and they hit a speed bump here in Pittsburgh. If this isn't Tennessee, it's a different story. But
right, I just think the Steelers' confidence is shaken right now. No James Harrison, Ben is a little gimpy. The running game struggled. I think Tennessee is ripe to come in and steal this one on the road.
All right, just an update. The Brewers have bases loaded with 1 out in the 6th inning.
Okay. Next, we go to the Snoopy Bowl, otherwise known as MetLife Stadium in the Meadowlands, where the New York Football Giants host the Seattle Seahawks. Giants with a nice, and I watched most of that game, a nice come-from-behind win over the Cardinals. I'd pick Arizona, and I thought they were going to take it, and they almost did. But I'll tell you something, no one's really playing better right now than Eli Manning. He's actually not playing that bad right now. He's throwing the ball very well, very confident. Defense, OC came back. Justin Tuck didn't play. They were a little shaky at times. Their timing was off at times. But I got to go with the Giants at home. Seattle, a great home team. A terrible road team.
Yeah, this is my lock of the week. There's no way the Giants lose this game to Seattle at home. Not the way the defense has been playing and not the way Eli Manning's been playing. They're going to torch Seattle. Seattle feisty, as always, like we talked about, nearly coming back and beating Atlanta at home. But on the road, they're a completely different team. So it's just a big win for the Giants to keep rolling. If they want to establish dominance in that division right now, they have to win this game.
So we both take the Giants in that one. We move on to Everbank Field in Jacksonville, where the Jags host the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm going to make this my lock of the week. I think the Bengals win this one over Jacksonville. Blaine Gabbert has been terrible, but he's a kid. There's a lot of rebuilding going on in Jacksonville right now. I know it's a road game, but Andy Dalton has really played well for Cincinnati. I like the way the defense has looked. I'm going to take the Bengals in this one to win on the road at Jacksonville.
All right. I'm taking the Bengals as well. It's not going to be my upset special or my lock or anything like that, but I do think they'll win as well. Andy Dalton looks very good. And really, they're another team that's a couple stupid plays away from being 4-0 as well. So they played hard these first 4 weeks, and a lot better than maybe a lot of people expected them to play. So I definitely like them here. Jacksonville's a train wreck.
Next, we move on to Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, where the Carolina Panthers host the New Orleans Saints. Cam Newton will probably have another good game statistically, but I can't see them. I just don't see them. They gave the Packers a good game a few weeks ago, a game you and I watched most of, but I don't see the Saints losing this game. They need to rebound. They need to get that Packer loss behind them, and they seem to be doing that, so I'm going to take them on the road against Carolina.
Yeah, I agree. New Orleans is too tough right now. Carolina is going to be gutty all year. They're gonna definitely scare some teams like they did this past week, but I like New Orleans here. They seem to finally be clicking and rolling, and they had a huge week this past week, so I think it continues.
Okay. Next, to Reliance Stadium in Houston, where the Texans, coming off maybe one of their biggest wins ever as a franchise, hosting the Oakland Raiders, coming off a loss to New England at home. You've been talking a lot about like letdowns after big wins. If this game was in Oakland, I would agree with you, but I can't see the Texans letting down at home against a team that clearly is not as good as they are. Yeah, so I'm going to take Houston at home.
I know, it's scary. This definitely has upset potential written all over it. I just don't believe in Jason Campbell enough to take Oakland on the road in a hostile environment like this. If they had a better quarterback, I'd buy into them more. I do think there's a good chance they're the best team in that division, honestly. But they have another tough loss here after a tough loss last week at home, and Houston keeps rolling on.
Next, probably might be one of the most entertaining games of the weekend. We go to Ralph Wilson Stadium in Buffalo, where the Bills host the Dream Team, suckers, the Philadelphia Eagles, who are 1-3 and lost just as ugly a game as the Cowboys did this past week, losing to the Niners at home. Buffalo lost their first game of the year, but it was a tough road loss to a game Cincinnati team. You know, you almost want to pick Buffalo, but part of you thinks that Philadelphia is just not going to let this game get away from them. You know what? I'm going to take the Eagles on the road. I can't see them going 1-4. As good as Buffalo's been playing, particularly at home, I can't see the Eagles letting themselves lose this game. I'm going to take the Eagles.
Brewers just scored a run, so it's 7-4. This is my upset of the week. I'm taking the Bills.
Okay.
Philly's a mess. Their defense is a mess, and I think Fitzpatrick goes wild on them. I think Fred Jackson runs all over him. And Buffalo gets another surprising win.
Okay. I'm nervous to pick them again, but I can't see Philadelphia going 1-4. As a Cowboy fan, I'll be dancing in the streets, but I can't see it happening. Next up, probably one of the uglier games of the weekend, we go to Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, where the Colts host the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm going to take the Colts to win their first game of the year.
Yeah.
I think they have enough momentum. They didn't play bad Sunday night against the Bucs. In their last 2 weeks, they played pretty good and almost beat the Steelers. And Kansas City is no Pittsburgh, as tough as the Steelers are playing, struggling. I think the Colts win their first game of the year at home against Kansas City.
No, I like Kansas City here. I think they've actually started to gel a little bit these last couple of weeks. They gave San Diego a really good game 2 weeks ago and almost pulled it out. And then they beat Minnesota last week. So I think they're starting to get a little momentum. And this is a game they can easily win. Indy is really... last week, I mean, they've been playing tough. I'll give them credit. They've been playing tough. I just don't know if Curtis Painter has what it takes to start winning professional football games at this point. So I'll take Matt Castle in that dome on the track with McCluster and Bo running all over the place. So I like Kansas City there.
Okay. We go to the late game, or one more early game, sorry. We go to Mall of America Field in Minneapolis, where the Vikings will host the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals coming off a tough home loss to the Giants. Again, Minnesota lost to Kansas City. Both teams have considerable weaknesses, but I'm going to take the Cardinals on the road. They played a much better game against the Giants. Minnesota's just all over the place. Defense has struggled. Donovan McNabb is not moving the offense. I'm going to take the Cardinals on the road.
I'm going to let you in on a secret. Arizona's not very good. They play well at home. They actually have a good home field crowd. Minnesota's going to win. There's no way they're going to 0-5. McNabb is not great, but he's too good for that. And I think they're going to get a heavy dose of Peterson. Arizona's D is not very good. Cobb, whether he's good or not, it's going to be a couple years before he's really the echelon of quarterback to go into a tough road game like this and win. And I just don't think Arizona's that good at all. So I like Minnesota here to finally get on the board with the first win.
Okay. All right, we go to the late games. And an intriguing game at Candlestick Park in San Francisco, where the Niners, leading the NFC West, hosting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is going to be a fun football game. I'm going to take the Niners at home. They're playing very well right now to go into Philadelphia and beat the Eagles. But the Bucs will be game, and I think it'll be a defensive struggle. I think it'll be very low scoring, but I'm going to take the Niners at home.
Yeah, the Niners have a lot of confidence. That was a great comeback win. They're obviously buying in. I still don't trust Alex Smith, but their defense is great. Their running game's great. I like Tampa here, though. I think, you and I talked about them possibly challenging for a wild card spot in that division, and these are the games they have to win. San Francisco, to me, may have peaked with that win last week. I know they're home. I don't really consider their home a huge home field advantage. I like Tampa coming off that Monday night win. I know it's actually, now I'm reconsidering. Short week going west. All right, I already said it, so I got to stick with Tampa, but I'm a little more nervous now. I'm thinking about it. Short week. And at least it's a 4 o'clock game, but obviously when teams fly out east is the bigger concern, but going west also a concern. But Tampa, I don't know, young team may not be as fazed by that. So Josh Freeman, even when he doesn't play well, he plays well. So if that makes sense, but I like Tampa here to keep rolling.
Okay. Next, we go to Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, where a game that you and I have been talking about since the beginning of the year, the first of two between these two heated rivals, the Patriots hosting the Jets. I'd said for a while that I thought you were going to win this game, but I didn't like the way you looked on Sunday night. But at the same time, two quarterbacks that can throw the ball, But the Jets secondary has not played that bad, and the Patriots secondary is pretty awful. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to throw you a bone, and I still think the Jets are going to win this game. But if they don't, I wouldn't totally be surprised. But you know what? I'm going to throw Mark Sanchez a bone here and let him try and exploit this secondary.
Okay. I'm picking the Jets because I always pick them. I don't think they're going to win this game. But that's just a pessimistic Jets fan of me. I think they have a chance to win it. I think that the fact that they're 9.5-point underdogs, to me, is a little bit much. I think a lot of people are looking at that game against Baltimore and saying, all right, this team's just not very good. There's no way they're going to go into New England and win this game. But New England's defense is historically bad right now. No team that's ever given up... First of all, no team's ever given up the amount of yards that they've given up through the first 4 weeks in history. They've given up the most ever. No team that's ever given up this much has ever made the Super Bowl or won the Super Bowl. So they are historically bad right now. Like ridiculous levels of bad defensively. So if there's ever a game for the Jets to get their offense rolling, this may be it. I expect a big game from Dustin Keller over the middle. I expect a big game from Santonio Holmes as well. The question will be is, can they stop Tom Brady? Now they lost Brian Thomas for the year, which is a big loss. Aaron Maben stepped in on Sunday night and actually looked pretty good. Had a sack and or forced in another strip sack as well. So can he step in and become the pass rusher that they've been desperately needing? I don't know. Another big thing for the Yankees, I'm looking at baseball. For the Jets is that Aaron Hernandez looks like he'll be out again this week, which is a big thing for them because now they don't have to focus on him. They can put I'd put Revis on Welker and put Cromartie on Gronkowski, honestly, if I was them. So I think they can win this game. I don't think it's going to be as lopsided as people think, but as a Jets fan, I am worried, especially knowing that if they lose this, they're going to go to 2-3 and fall basically 3 games behind the Patriots. So they'll be 2 back with this loss will make it 3, basically. So a really important game here for the Jets. The one thing I will say is that Rex Ryan and Mark Sanchez both usually answer well to adversity, and they usually both bounce back from these kind of ugly losses. So I'm picking the Jets, but very pessimistic about it.
Okay, all right. Next up, our last 4 o'clock game, we go to Sports Authority Field at Mile High in Denver, where the Broncos host the Chargers. This is my lock of the week. I think Phillip Rivers, Vincent Jackson, and all those guys, I think they're going to shred that lousy Bronco defense, and I think the Chargers win big on the road.
All right, the Chargers have not looked good at all, but Denver's a mess. They got lit up by Green Bay, and I think San Diego and Phillip Rivers do the same thing. Not maybe to the tune that Aaron Rodgers did, but I do think they'll put Denver away pretty easily.
Okay.
And Aaron Hill has just hit a home run. Is now 8-4 Arizona.
Okay. Our Sunday night NBC game takes us to the Georgia Dome in Atlanta. Second time in 4 weeks, I believe, that the Falcons have the Sunday night home game. This time they take on the Green Bay Packers. We both jumped on the Falcon bandwagon. We both like them winning the whole thing. But right now, Aaron Rodgers is like the Mark Henry of NFL quarterbacks. He is untouchable right now.
Yeah, he's unbelievable.
And I think the Packers win this game on the road. Won't be a blowout. Falcon defense won't get embarrassed at home, but the Packers win this game.
Yeah, I think Green Bay wins pretty easily, honestly. Our Atlanta Super Bowl pick is not looking too great at this point, but I can't see them beating Green Bay. Green Bay is just a machine right now. The way they move up and down the field, precision is amazing. And even if they're due for a little bit of a stinker, I still think they have enough to beat Atlanta. So.
Okay. And finally, on Monday night, and I'm actually looking forward to this because I can't remember the last time these guys played a Monday night home game. We go to Ford Field in Detroit. The Lions, who have totally earned this opportunity, Monday night, national television audience, hosting the Chicago Bears. I am overwhelmingly picking the Lions at home to win this game.
I am as well. The Bears, to me, they're a weak mental team. I just don't see them. Yeah, I don't see them going to Detroit winning this game. Detroit has looked so good. The only thing that scares me a little bit is that everyone's so into Detroit right now. You can see this on the big stage, kind of shit in the bed. Everyone's like, oh, is this team really this good? So, curious, but we'll see.
Okay. So there's your picks for Week 5. Just to recap, my upset pick is Tennessee over Pittsburgh. My lock is San Diego over Denver. Justin's lock is the Giants over Seattle, and his upset pick is Buffalo over the Eagles. So there's your picks. And that's our show.
Yeah, good show. Efficient show, as always. These headline shows are really starting to take on a little bit of a format.
An identity.
An identity.
Yes.
That's a good term
Yeah.
for it. So
it's a good identity. And again, continue your comments on the board. Continue throwing the Duggan love. Hey, man, it's a lot of fun. You know, we're all here to have a good time. It's all fun. You can dislike my comments about midgets all you want. That's fine with me. But just keep listening.
I don't think everyone disliked that one. I think everyone liked that one.
You know what? Just keep listening, and that's all we've been. We'll give you the best we can. So we hope you enjoyed the show this week. Definitely watch Lucha Libre USA.
Yes.
Please watch it. It's definitely worth your hour of your time. It's really fun to watch.
Yeah. So there you go. There's your headline show. Hit us up again on our Facebook page. Jason Greenhouse, we call to you for a few more Photoshops, if you please. One thing, actually, 2 quick stories we didn't talk about that we want to talk about. The passing of Steve Jobs from cancer, of course. So taking a hit there, of course, is Apple. All us Apple fanatics, of course, feeling that one. So rest in peace, Steve Jobs. And also, today is the 14-year anniversary. Can you believe it's been 14 years of Brian Pillman passing away? We won't get too much.
Hell in a Cell match.
Yes, as well. That's right. Almost to the day of the pay-per-view. So we won't get too much to Pillman now. We'll talk obviously more about it once we get to that actual pay-per-view in our Vintage Falls. But of course, I am a huge Brian Pillman fan. So a sad day for me. Jason Greenhouse put a clip, classic Brian Pillman ECW debut clip up, and talks about how great his DVD is. If you don't have his DVD, pick it up. One of the best documentaries they've ever done.
Yes, and it's pretty cheap right now, so it's a few years old.
So there you go. We remember 2 legends in their own ways here tonight on the podcast, Steve Jobs and Brian Pillman. So for my PIC, Scott Griscolo, we will be back next week with the Vintage Vaults for SummerSlam 1993, and of course headlines again with the NFL previews, MLB wrap-ups, and all the wrestling news and notes. So for Scott Griscolo, I'm Justin Rosero. We'll talk to you next week. Have a great weekend.
Peace.
Not to be the boldest or the oldest or the wackest. Neither am I neatest or the newest or the blackest. Just a brown fellow who's not afraid of jello. To the people of the world, I would like to say good day. Had to wait a while, but the